Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us here at CPA Academy. This is Maureen Dudley, and I'll be your moderator on today's webinar, What is New in QuickBooks Desktop 2021? Before we get started, I do want to go through a few quick technical checks. Please let me know, yes, I can see, yes, I can hear. You should be seeing Marjorie's first slide, and you should be hearing my voice. So if you would go ahead and chime in, that helps us to know that everything's going well. Yes, I can see and hear. Greetings from Albuquerque, greetings from Maryland, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Houston, Maine. Wonderful. It's always good to know that we're off to a good start. Of course, if you are having any trouble hearing or seeing throughout the webinar, please shoot me a question over in the Q&A section of the GoToWebinar panel, and I'll do my best to get to you just as soon as I can. Please do keep in mind, however, there are hundreds of you here on the webinar and one of me. I'll get to you just as fast as I can. If you're here for credit today, this session qualifies for 1.5, 1.5 credits of CPE. And in order to earn that credit, you must remain logged in for at least 75 minutes and answer our polling questions. Polls are going to pop up in your screen periodically, and when a poll comes up, the slides go away and they're replaced by the GoToWebinar poll box. If you're having any problem selecting your answer and clicking submit, try putting your screen not in full screen. Try to minimize your screen to not be in full screen, and that should help you answer the polls. We here at CPA Academy will then process your credit by the end of the day, and that will be made available in your account within about 24 hours, along with an archived recording of the webinar, a copy of the handouts. Speaking of handouts, they're over in the GoToWebinar panel there, but if you can't download them from there, go ahead and just get them in your CPA Academy account. One more thing, we will be also having bonus polls today, so at least one bonus poll. So you only need 5 for credit. So if you do have a problem on one, don't worry. We will be having 6 polls today. I think that's enough housekeeping. So I'm now going to step out of the way and turn today's webinar over to our wonderful presenter, Marjorie Adams of 4Lane. Welcome, Marjorie.
Thanks, Maureen. Thanks so much. Hi, everybody. I am so excited to join you guys again this year for our What's New in QuickBooks Desktop 2021. It's been quite a year so far already. I'm sure everybody has been finding their ways to deal and manage and get through, but hopefully today I'm going to be bringing you some good news about some of the changes that we're going to be able to present to our clients or to take and use in-house. So first of all, thank you to CPA Academy for hosting this. It's always awesome to work with you guys. So you're seeing this here first. Product release was yesterday. I know there are a lot of blogs that go out about features, although I don't think there are that many this year because there is a lot of confusion as to what is actually being released in product. But to see them in action, which we're going to be doing today, looking at in product the features that are being released, that's pretty powerful. And 4Lane's always looking out for its partners and clients by making them aware of these features that we should be taking advantage of. We pay for the products, right? Let's take advantage of these features. As a little side note, as I kind of mentioned there, I'm not fully aware of what is in the R1 versus R3 releases yet. Even I have a feature that I stumbled on that I'm going to show you, and I don't actually know what it does. I can't figure out the results from it, but it's there. So awareness is half the battle, right? Being aware is part of it. And so I'll show the feature to you, and then hopefully in some follow-up, we'll be able to let you guys know what it actually does. So getting the real stuff today, the real, I like to say. So I'm Marjorie.
We know we have a real presenter here. Yeah. Great.
I'm Marjorie Adams. As I mentioned, I own and operate the consulting firm 4Lane. And I personally am located outside of Austin, Texas. I'm one of those transplants from the San Francisco Bay Area. We came down here to Austin in 2009. 4Lane, however, is a 100% remote firm. We have been remote since the very beginning, which is funny because in the very beginning, I didn't like to tell anybody we're a remote firm, but now it's the way of the world, right? And we have over 50 employees now across 9 states. My personal passion is to educate and empower as many people and businesses as I can. I feel that when you affect the one person, it can carry forward to affect the many, and we work very hard at our core value here of do it better by continuing to learn so that we may provide elevated business process and strategy to our clients. So there are a lot of terms, I think, being thrown around our industry currently, and I don't always know what to call our firm. So we're a change management firm, managed consulting, workflow consulting, outsourced accounting. But hopefully through some of this, these slides, you guys can learn a little bit more about what we do too. So what makes 4Lane unique first? So 4Lane has been the #1 QuickBooks solution provider since 2010. There's not another firm out there that can say that they have been leading for that long. Also, we are QuickBooks and ERP consultants. We have implementation consultants on our team that implement both QuickBooks Enterprise and Acumatica, which is the ERP solution that we support. That is pretty unique, I've found out there, to have both. We understand accounting and systems. That's also something that makes us pretty unique. I do interviews for ERP consultants to join our team frequently. Not frequently, but every once in a while. And one of the questions I ask is, can you please explain to me what a balance sheet is? And a lot of times they can't answer that question, which is fascinating, right? In the ERP world, that sometimes people can't answer that question when they're setting up the system that is getting to that balance sheet. So this is something that we very much so pride ourselves on. And then lastly, of course, we are project managers for change management. That's what we do here. So some of our services, formulas for our success, are here. Everything that we do is focused on getting data to our clients so that they can make decisions. That's what we do for our customers. And so for us, it's very important to know and to be the first to know, or as close to the first as possible, so that we can be talking to our customers about what is coming out new, again, so we can educate them to take advantage of what they're paying for, which is why I'm so passionate about this webinar that we're going to be going through today. All right, so enough about 4Lane. Let's go ahead on into the first start about QuickBooks. All right, so QuickBooks is focusing this year on more automation. It's the first time I've heard this term used, although I know that Intuit has focused on, automation in other places, but the first time I've actually heard it used from them in this way, automation to save time and boost productivity. I think that is huge. In our industry, in the accounting industry, a lot of people are talking about, having more automations happening, moving to more this idea of consulting or accountancy, right? Some of these terms I've heard out there, because we're not having to do as much data entry is the hope, right? Here at 4Lane, we always coach our clients that if somebody is willing to do the data entry for you, meaning somebody places an order in your website or somebody puts some information in a contact form for you, you should never have to put that information anywhere else again because they did the data entry for you, right? So automation is huge. I noticed also this year in particular, we're seeing a lot of second generation owners taking over businesses. I'm not sure if anybody else has seen that. But I'm seeing that quite a bit right now. And obviously, a lot of the children taking over the business from their parents are all about productivity. And so it's really exciting to see this coming out from Intuit this year as well. Okay, so today we're going to cover changes to QuickBooks Enterprise. Usually that's the front runner. There aren't as many changes to just Enterprise this year. So I'm going to be leading with QuickBooks Pro Premier, including Plus. There are some things that are unique to just Pro and Premier Plus and Enterprise this year. So that is something that is definitely different. There's some changes coming out to the Web Connector, some modifications that are super exciting, and then some payroll changes as well. All right, learning objectives. So I'd like y'all to be able to walk away with describing 2 QuickBooks Enterprise product feature releases. Enterprise is my heart and soul when it comes to the Intuit lineup. So I would like for us to all be able to take away 2 feature releases and then also to be able to describe 3 QuickBooks Desktop Pro Premier Accountant Enterprise 2021 product features. All right, let's go ahead and launch our very first poll. How do you use this information? Okay, it's always important for me to understand what people want to get from these webinars, for me to focus and make sure that we're prioritizing information and data as it's coming out to you guys.
And Marjorie, I'm sure you already know, but we want to make sure we'll leave the poll open
Yes.
until at least 95% have voted or 60 seconds.
Yes, 91% already, and at 30 seconds, so everybody's very excited today.
Yeah, an engaged audience. That's always good.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. So I get a little nervous walking into this webinar, right? I'm a little bit nervous about what everyone's going to have for feedback-wise, but always so excited to share some of the information. All right, so let's go ahead and close that poll and let me share the results. It looks like a lot of people are using it for their own personal knowledge, which I love. It's always important, continuing to learn. We have a core value, as I mentioned before, do it better so that we can, and part of that is continuing to learn constantly, right? You have to constantly be learning to train my clients and to implement in my own business. That's wonderful. And then, of course, to create content. That's awesome, too. Always good to be influencing. Okay, let's go ahead and move along into our first feature. So I'm actually, you guys can follow along in the slide deck. As I mentioned before, I'm actually going to do most of this webinar in product because to me, it is so important to see it. So I'm logged into QuickBooks. Hopefully you guys will be able to see my screen here. So a couple things in case I always touch on this because, QuickBooks, when you first logged in, starts out with this left icon bar. So if you're lost because of my view that I choose to use, I like to use the top icon bar instead. It's because I'm old school QuickBooks and I get lost with this side navigation bar. So if you're trying to follow along in your own, then you can come under the view here and hit that top icon bar. I do always suggest people follow along if they can, if you have the ability to follow along, especially for the pro advisors who downloaded the new software yesterday when it was sent out. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to be doing here is we're going to be talking about Intuit account roles managed inside of QuickBooks. So if I come into company and users and set up users and roles, oops, I'm sorry, I'm already logged in. Let me get logged in as the admin user. Already yelling at me. QuickBooks is already yelling at me. 1, 2, 3, 4. When I go in as the admin to set up users and roles, I'm going to see a different look now. I was testing something right before this to show you guys something additional to show y'all. So we go companies and users, set up users and roles. Of course, it's going to ask me to put in my password.
Well, this is extra instruction. This is good. It reminds us where we need to go and how to do it.
Right, exactly. So this looks a little different, and I wish I could make it bigger, but it won't allow me to make it bigger. But this view looks a little different when we're setting up users and roles now, right? So first of all, up top here, when I have my different users that I have set up, I have some users, and I have their email addresses that are associated with this user and their account showing up here in the user and role section. That's huge. I think half the time when people are calling Intuit or calling us is they're trying to figure out which email address is associated with my admin. So it is now showing here, right? So that is awesome to be able to see that. The other thing that they've added that's slightly different is that we have the asterisk, which is always there, which is showing you this role has unrestricted access to view all transactions, including payroll, right? That's what the little asterisk means. But we have the caret now, and it says, these roles need an Intuit account. So based on this role, it's required that they have an email address associated with them. Okay. Now down below, this looks a little different as well. So we have the company file roles, right? So this is what we're used to seeing. I'm an accountant. Which role from the role list here do I have access to? I have access to the external accountant role. Down below, though, I am showing a different role now, which is my Intuit account roles. So what else outside of QuickBooks do I have access to that is associated with this company? So in this case, Marjorie Adams at 4Lane Madams, has payroll manager role. Okay. If I click on the admin here, I see that I have company file, admin access. My Intuit account role is primary admin, and I'll talk to you about what these different roles mean here in a second. But I think it's really important to note that this is a change, and I think that that's going to be very helpful for everyone in product. So if I click on manage roles here, it's going to take me into the Intuit systems now. All right, so I can see my users. You can search for users by email address here. I can see their status. So I invited Madams at 4Lane and it's pending over here. I can add a user from here. So I can put in the user's email address. So this is not making them a user that has access to the QuickBooks file. This is giving them access to Intuit account information, right? Payroll, payments, things like that. So user's email address, what they have access to, and then basic user is a very important one, which we're going to talk about what all these roles mean, but basic user, all of them will have access to, and you can't remove basic user, it's required. So if they're going to have access, they're going to be a basic user for this file. In the roles tab here, you can see what the different roles are. Now, of course, you guys can go in and explore these. You don't need to sit here and read through them. Let me just give you at a high level what they mean. So primary admin versus secondary admin. These are both admin type of roles. The primary can transfer the primary admin to somebody else and do everything else, right? Add, delete users, edit roles, assign secondaries, etc. The secondary can do all those things. They just can't transfer the primary admin to somebody else. Okay. Payroll, we have two, payroll manager and payroll processor. The payroll processor cannot do payroll adjustments, basically. Okay, manager has full access to payroll functions, employee paychecks, paycheck information, everything. Okay. Payments. The payments users here, the full admin can do everything related to an Intuit Merchant Service account. Payments, or hopefully everybody knows what payments are with Intuit, right? Being able to take a credit card or an ACH payment, cash in from customers. So full admin has full access to the merchant service account. Limited admin can access permissions of other users, except for the full admin permissions. And limited cannot add accounts nor services. So only the full admin can add accounts or services, right? Like adding services would be, I have a QuickBooks Enterprise Merchant Service account and I want to be able to allow for Go payments as well. You can add a service to that one account. And then a payments full user cannot manage other users or settings, nor add accounts nor services, but they can see, right, reporting and what's being processed. Okay. And then we have a basic user. So this is really what I'm going to focus on. The reason I'm showing you this is our next feature, which we're going to go into. But a basic user is what you would be setting up. Like if you set somebody up to see the View My Paycheck, what used to be called View My Paycheck, so they can view their paychecks online. Or if they use T-Sheets, that's a basic user. And then basic users also use this thing called receipt management, which we're about to take a look at here in a minute. One of the terms, though, that I saw here was this term workforce. So I just wanted to point it out to you guys. I believe that the direction, I've never heard this term workforce either. There's an article in July around this term. I believe the direction of workforce is going to be for employees to have one place to log into to access their T-sheets or timesheets and access their payroll. It seems like that's the direction it's headed. But I didn't know fully what that meant yet. Okay, so that's a basic user. I've seen a couple of questions in here, so let me just pause for a second. Can a secondary admin import IIF files? So this access here has nothing to do with your QuickBooks file access. This access that I'm showing here has to do with handling your Intuit account. Okay, calling Intuit and being able to talk to Intuit about payroll, calling Intuit and being able to talk to them about the merchant service account, etc. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, moving forward. So of course, as I showed, I can add a new user here, add their email address, choose which roles they're going to have access to. On my list here, I'm not seeing a payments role because I don't have a payments account set up in my sample file that I'm showing you guys, right? If I had payments account, then I would be seeing those roles. So to me, this is a huge step in the right direction. We get calls with clients constantly trying to reset their admin password. I don't know the email address on my admin account. I don't, and we're trying to help clients navigate that. And this will help clean things up quite a bit. Okay. All right, a couple more questions. So people are asking, is there a user for only entering invoices for payment? So in Enterprise, you can narrow down what people have access to do, right? Enterprise has a higher level of security than other versions of QuickBooks, the highest level of security. So you can come in here. So now on this role list here, this is where we are saying what people have access to inside of the QuickBooks file, right? Not the Intuit account. So if I come in here and I can say that they have access to customers and receivables, they can view invoices, create invoices, but not modify, delete, print them. So this would be an enterprise only feature to get that narrowed down on functionality. Okay, so let's move into the next big, this is one of the biggest releases this year. So this feature, receipt management, is what I'm going to be talking about. This feature is available in Pro and Premier Plus only. Right? If you don't know the Plus is the subscription version of Pro and Premier, which they are changing the pricing on. So definitely check in with 4Lane on pricing. They're kind of flipping the pricing so that it makes it more exciting price-wise to get into Plus, even though it's a subscription. I know so many people hate subscriptions, but it is what it is. You get all these cool features. So this is Plus only and Enterprise only. Receipt management will allow you to snap pictures of receipts, and using OCR, or optical character recognition, QuickBooks will read parts of the receipt for faster and more accurate entry. When you set up receipts for the first time, you will need to log into your Intuit account on your phone and in QuickBooks. So be prepared. You need to know your username, right? Your email address and password to log into that Intuit account that I was just showing you. Okay. In order to access this app, so it is an app, you would go into the App Store and you look for QuickBooks Desktop :expenses. I'm sorry, I don't have that typed out for you. I just found that out about 2 hours ago. QuickBooks Desktop :expenses. Let's talk about what it means. If we come in here under vendors, we now have receipt management. Okay. Takes a second to load because it's pulling down information from the cloud. In here, I can browse to upload receipts. So this is something kind of like what we had before where you could attach, scan documents and attach. But I now have the chance to snap on mobile as well. And then it'll bring it into this system. So starting up top in my dashboards, I'm going to talk about managing users first. So we can give people access to the receipt management area of QuickBooks inside of QuickBooks. Or you can limit and just allow them to have access on the mobile device. So they can not be considered a QuickBooks user, do not have to be logged into your file. You don't need a license for them. You are giving them access to a mobile app that will allow them to snap pictures and tie them back into your file. Okay, so those are the two options as far as user permissions. And when they are when they become a user, a mobile user, that previous screen we talked about a basic user access in your Intuit account, they would have to have that basic user access. Your email address that you set them up with, or your personal email address, can only be tied to one file, right? So if you are doing this on behalf of your clients, you may need to set up, accountant at whateverclientname.com, accountant at whatever other clientname.com in order to snap receipts for them so that because it ties one email address into one QuickBooks desktop file. Okay. All right. So you can see the dashboard. We're going to go into the dashboard in just a second. First, I'm going to go into my Reflector app so that I can show you my phone. Take me just a second here while I set up screen sharing. And it asks me to put in a code, 9355, okay. Okay, so you guys can see my screen, my kids, and I have my QuickBooks desktop app here.
Cute kids, Marjorie.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, thank you. 2 little boys. Keep me busy. So I am logged in. Notice it pulls in my account name, Larry's Landscaping. It pulls in my company name from there. Up top, I have the 3 dots, which allow me to go into settings, which is not very exciting. It's just, you know, user ID and some company information. I guess if we're troubleshooting, that company information could be exciting. Which company am I connecting to? Very basic. I have take a picture and I have view history. So let's start with take a picture. I have to stand up for this one because I'm scanning an old receipt and to be able to see the whole thing. So notice that it picks up the size of the receipt, captures just the receipt for me. This is an old Walgreens receipt. Nobody's going to the store hardly at all anymore, right? So I don't have very many receipts sitting around, so I had to dig up an old one. So now I'm going to click and say, use this photo. All right, it pops up and asks me for a name. It gives me a default name. I can fill in something else, whatever I want, office stuff. And then in the memo, I can even dictate medicine for, of course, it's not going to work now. Of course, it's not going to work now, but you can dictate medicine for the office and upload. Okay, so snapped, uploaded, nothing else that I have to do. Sending my file up to my QuickBooks desktop file. Now in here, the last little bit that you can do is you can click on view history, and then you'd be able to see any of the other things. You can see how many times I've tested some different stuff in here. All the other receipts that you have uploaded, you'd be able to see them in here as well. So very basic, should be very simple to train users, right? How to use this and take advantage of it quickly in our businesses. Now coming back in here, there is a refresh. I found that the refresh doesn't always work the best. So I'm just going to go reload it by going to vendors and receipt management again. When I come into vendors receipt management, I do have one that's in here processing. That's been there since I first started testing, so it's got to be something in my beta. Ignore that. Hopefully you guys won't have that. Down below here, I have the receipts that I need to review, and then I have my reviewed receipts so that I can click on that. So a couple of things. The images, you can see the images here. If you kind of highlight, you'll be able to see the different images and what they are. The vendor, if the vendor exists in your vendor list, it will pull that vendor in. So Walgreens, it pulls Walgreens, it understands Walgreens exists. Now, of course, we recommend to a lot of our customers not to set up like every gas station in your QuickBooks file because it'll make your vendor list grow incredibly long. However, if it pulls in Walgreens and Walgreens does not exist on the vendor list, it's not like banking rules quite yet where it will say, oh, Walgreens equals grocery store or something like that, right? So it's not quite there yet, but maybe in the future. It will recognize the bank card number. Again, however, it's a little bit funky currently with the fact that the bank card number has to be the name of the account. If I had Amex in there, it would not pick it up. And notice that this receipt did pick up 1019, right? So it just didn't recognize that 1019 and 019 are the same thing. Just little quirkinesses, but I'm just going to say that this is amazing. Picks up my date accurately, picks up the total amount found. In this case, I actually have scanned this receipt 90 times probably for this webinar, so it finds a match. So what you can do on the side, let me just show you one that hasn't found a match yet. I can go in and review this. It pulls up my receipt. I can zoom in, make it larger, right? Move the orientation around here. I can choose my bank card that I'm purchasing it on, so it defaults understood. It picks up the date, the amount. I can set up a class, put a class in here. I can choose the account that it should go to, the vendor. It picked up Whole Foods Market even though it doesn't exist. So you'll see it ask me in a minute if I have a vendor or if I want to add this vendor. And then I can even associate it with a customer or job for accurate job costing expenses. Then I can put in a memo here, which I didn't put in there before. So I've done just stuff. So I can save it and add it to the register. Here's where it pops up, says vendor not found. Would you like to create that vendor? I say, yes, please. And then it's going to go ahead and add that transaction to my register. Okay. Now in the reviewed section, scroll all the way to the bottom, I have this transaction in my reviewed. I can click view here, or of course I could go to the vendor center to Whole Foods Market, either one. But I can see here, picked it up on the credit card, vendor, delivery fee, amount, right? All of the things got picked up appropriately. Now I have a preference whether or not I want everything to be marked as billable or not. So I have that checked right now. Pretty cool. Automation. Picked up the correct date, picked up the correct amount. That is huge, right? Being able to have those simple things is huge. Oh, wait, I forgot one of the biggest parts. And there's an attachment right in here. So I click on the attachment, I can reopen this image at any point from the transaction. I don't necessarily have to be in the receipt management area. So just a really, really big deal. I feel like such a huge step in the right direction for desktop. I'm really proud of the desktop team for getting this pushed through. Okay, so we have a ton of questions around this. So I'm going to look at a couple questions while I launch our second poll.
And Marjorie, I've been flagging a lot of the questions orange if they're a question and green if they're a comment.
Okay, perfect. There are a lot of questions. So let me see if I can grab a couple.
There are a lot of them. One of them that happened right in the beginning, ERP. Some people weren't familiar with that term ERP. Can you say what that means?
Yeah, enterprise resource planning. So it's essentially the ERP products are the next step up when people are leaving QuickBooks Enterprise space, right? So if you have, you know, we talk about like QuickBooks Online and Xero and maybe some FreshBooks if that's still around and stuff like that, right? That's all one market. Then we have some QuickBooks Desktop type things. Then we go into Enterprise. There's not really a huge amount of competition for Enterprise, right? In the price range of Enterprise anyway. And then of course we go into ERP, which some people are used to, like Dynamics or NetSuite. Acumatica again is the one that we represent. Definitely tell you guys one day for why I chose this product over the other ones. Intact, you hear that. So it's kind of just the next step up product. ERP is usually going to have more processing on the platform that they're in, right? And not necessarily need to use apps, although most ERPs still use apps in some form or fashion. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Okay. All right. Could you guys use this right away? So let's see. This feature is Pro, Premier Plus. So the receipt feature is in Pro and Premier Plus and in Enterprise. So the desktop subscription products is where you find it. Okay. I'm not aware if it's available in the Accountant Edition. The Accountant Edition is kind of a oddity this year for me. And there are things that usually the Accountant Edition does everything that all other editions do. And in this year, in Enterprise at least, the Accountant Edition doesn't have access to some of the features that Platinum and Diamond have access to. There is no fee for this service. It's just paying for your QuickBooks subscription, right? That's the fee. So it's included in that. Okay, hopefully I covered a couple of those. All right, and close. And let's share. Let's see what everybody's saying. Yes, I could use this immediately. So some people, yes, probably wait a few months. Maybe we have some undecided. So easy to set up. So easy to set up. And 27% say probably not. So good feedback. I will take this back into developers and let them know.